Good evening, students. Am I audible? Yeah. Mm. Okay, so some few numericals are there which we will complete. Very soon it will be completed, small numericals. And then we have 3 MCQs at the last, small MCQs. Then we will start the next chapter today itself. Okay. So let me quickly remind you, we discussed about AC generator, right? So if you take a coil like this and you rotate the coil with some angular speed. So the angular speed may be something like 20 revolution per minute. Angular speed may be 20 revolution per minute. Like this they will give. RPM it is called sometimes. RPM. In numerical while substituting, should I use this number or I should convert into SI units? I should convert into SI units. How I will do? One revolution means how many radians? One revolution means 2 pi radians, and per minute you have to write 60 seconds. So like this you have to convert and then you can use in the formula. So when a coil rotates in a magnetic field, constant magnetic field, what keeps on changing? The angle between area vector and magnetic field vector keeps on changing. So magnetic flux is given by NBA cos theta. N is the number of turns. Theta is omega t. Correct now? So as this function changes, flux will change, EMF will be induced. What is the formula given by Faraday? Minus d phi by dt. NBA is constant. You take outside. Differentiation of cos omega t with respect to t will be what? Minus omega sine omega t. Minus minus will become plus. So this is called what value of EMF? This is called what value of EMF? Maximum value. Why? Why it is called maximum value? Because E will be maximum when sine becomes 1. That is the maximum value of sine. So based on this formula, students, we will do some problems today. Please memorize the formula for maximum EMF. So maximum EMF is equal to NBA. Those who play basketball and they follow basketball, you should know this. No, NBA you will be knowing because it is related to a league. So NBA, but you have to introduce omega. This omega is also there, right? So this formula, please try to remember. In one of the problem that was asked, let me increase the brightness. In one of the problem in board exam, this problem was asked. They asked to calculate EMF like that. They just told to calculate EMF. So students know they asked for grace marks because they did not use the word maximum EMF. You cannot simply say calculate EMF. Why, students? Because it depends on what? It depends on what? Time. So you have to mention the time if you want instantaneous EMF. If you simply say find EMF, we cannot find. We can calculate maximum EMF. We can calculate EMF also, provided you mention the time. Is it clear or not? So that time, no, they got 5 marks grace. Okay. So let us try to solve the next question. 1 and 2 we have done. Which numerical exercise, students? 6.3, right? Okay. Question number 1 and 2 are over. Third question. Third question is based on mutual inductance. So if you see, they are saying a pair, PAIR, 2, a pair of adjacent coils has a mutual inductance 1.5 Henry. Henry, okay, H is Henry, SI unit of inductance. If the current in one coil changes from 0 to 20 ampere, so current in one coil changes from 0 to 20 ampere. So it will be 20 minus 0, which will be 20 ampere. Why I wrote 1? Because this is change in current in first coil. Let us call one of the coil first coil, other coil we will say second coil. What they want? In 0.5 seconds. So time taken is 0.5 seconds. What is the change? What is the change of flux, magnetic flux, linked with the other coil? So they want change in magnetic flux linked with the other coil. So change in magnetic flux linked with the other coil. So this is coil number 2. Now for this, no students, you don't need this. This is not needed. Why? Let us remember the definition of mutual inductance. How I introduced. I told you magnetic flux linked with second coil will be proportional to current in the first coil. Then the constant of proportionality, we write mutual inductance. Agree or not? If this was also 1, then what will I write here? L. Okay. Prakruti, give others also chance to answer. Okay. Then we write L here. Now don't be angry and don't say from now onwards I will never answer like that. Okay. So here what we write L if these two coils are same. But if you are passing current in one coil and you are calculating flux in the second coil, then we call this mutual inductance. So they are asking change in this, right? See here. So let us take change both sides. This is constant. This I will get. Yes or no, students? Agree or not? If I take change both sides. So now you see this is given 1.5. This is given 20. So 30 Weber. 30 Weber. So there was no need for this to be given. When will I use this? If they ask what? Yeah, very good. If they ask EMF. So if they ask, let us do that also. No, in board exam, so 2 parts will be there. This cannot come for 5 marks. So they may include EMF in the second coil. So EMF in the second coil will be from Faraday's law. Change in magnetic flux divided by time taken. If you want only magnitude, no need to put minus sign. So what is the change in magnetic flux? 30. Time taken is 0.5. 0.5 means 1 by 2. 2 will go up. 60 volt. 60 volt. Finish, students. This is extra. So sometimes some information will be given which is useless. But you should not get confused. Okay? Done? Prakruti done? Okay. Too many singers are there in my home, students. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, let us see the fourth question now. there is a woman, I don't know woman or girl, Kamla. Her name is Kamla. So Kamla is pedaling. Kamla pedals a stationary bicycle. The pedals of the bicycle are attached to a 100-turn coil. So number of turns is 100. Of area of each turn is given 0.10 meter square. The coil rotates because she is rotating the pedal, so that motion is passed to the coil. Maybe she is some kind of engineer. So the coil rotates at half a revolution per second. That means omega is half revolution per second. Half revolution per second. So very clearly she is not very strong, okay? Only half revolution she is doing. Now revolution you cannot use, students, you have to convert into SI units. So 2 pi radian, this is second only, second you keep it second. So it will be pi radian per second. So this is the angular frequency, and it is placed in a uniform magnetic field 0.01 Tesla perpendicular to the axis. So if this is the axis of rotation, if the coil is rotating around this axis, then magnetic field according to the question is perpendicular, which it should be. Only then flux will change nicely, right? What they are asking, what is the maximum voltage generated in the coil? Now voltage here means EMF, okay? So maximum voltage EMF, just now I gave you the formula, NBA omega. NBA omega. N is 100, B is 0.01, so this will become 1. Area is 0.1, omega is pi. Okay, so how much will you get? How much will it come? This will be 1. This is 3.14, so 0.314. Correct, students? Very small voltage, okay? So you can't light a bulb and all with this kind of voltage, very small. Done? Last question. Now for the next question, the last part we can do only after doing the next chapter. Okay, so I will give the formula, but explanation will be in the next chapter. The last part. Most of the questions we will be able to do now only. Fifth question. Okay, a circular coil of radius 8 centimeter. This time they gave you radius. So there is a circular coil. I will write small r, students, because capital R I am going to use for resistance of this coil. So radius of the coil R is given 8 centimeter, meaning 8 into 10 power minus 2 meter. And it has 20 turns. Is rotated about its vertical diameter. Matlab this diameter, vertical diameter. With angular speed omega, which is given directly in SI units. So now no need to convert, it is already in SI units. In a horizontal uniform magnetic field. Magnetic field is uniform. So you know that again there will be magnetic flux which will change as it rotates, right? As it rotates, the area vector will change. As the area vector will change, your flux will change. So what is the magnetic field? Magnetic field is 30 millitesla. Milli means 10 power how much? Milli means 10 power how much? minus 3 Tesla. So the first part is obtain the maximum and average EMF. Maximum and average EMF. Maximum to already we know. Just keep your calculator ready, okay? So let us calculate maximum EMF. First part. NBA omega. This will be NB. Area they have not given directly, so we have to write pi r square because it is a circular area. Number of turns is 20. Magnetic field is, I can write 30 into 10 power minus 3. Pi value I can write 3.14. Radius is 8 into 10 power minus 2 square. Omega is 50. Chalo, try it. 8 square will be 64 into 50 into this into 30 into 20, then this 10 power minus 3, 10 power minus 4. Final answer, huh? Is it correct? 7.5 volt. Check once. Everybody should do calculation, students, please. .603. Yeah, that is correct. According to me also it is correct. Ananya, what are you doing, ma? I know this is evening class, so Solpa you will find difficulty. 0.603. So we calculated the maximum EMF. Then they also are asking average EMF. Now this I want you guys to tell me. I will give you a little hint. Anybody already has answered or what? Okay, no. How was the EMF changing? How was the EMF changing in a AC generator? E naught sine omega t. Correct? So how the graph looks? Like this. Correct, na? So maximum value is E naught. That is no doubt. But what will be average? Whenever they say average, it always means for one time period. So for one cycle, what will be the average of this kind of function, which is positive also, negative also? What will be the average value? Mathematically, I will teach next chapter, but without mathematics also, if you apply little logic, you should be able to say what should be the average EMF. For one half of the cycle, it is positive. For the second half, it is negative. So average will be 0 because as many positive values are there, that many negative values are also there. So if you get positive marks and equal negative marks, then your average marks is 0. So first part is over. Obtain the maximum and average EMF induced in the coil. That is over. Second part is what? If the coil forms a closed loop of resistance 10 ohm, calculate the maximum current in the coil. Current they are asking, maximum. That is very simple, right? So for part B, current they are asking maximum. So let us write I naught. So I naught will be what? EMF maximum divided by resistance. This is your Ohm's law applied to a circuit. EMF by resistance. This is 0.603. Resistance is 10. So 0.0603 ampere. So second part also done. Correct, na? Now the last part, that is where we need the next chapter. They are asking calculate the average power. Average power due to joules heating. Once current will flow, heat will be produced. No, I square R. So they want you to calculate average power. So the third part is to calculate average power. Now this you should not think is zero. Now you may say, why sir, it should be zero. Average current was zero. If average EMF was zero. If average EMF is zero, average current will be what? If average EMF is zero, what will be average current? Average current also will be zero, but average power will not be zero. The reason for that is power is I square R. Instantaneous power is I square R, where I is the instantaneous current. So if current looks like this, if current is alternating, current square will be like this. Yes or no? Current square cannot be negative. No, agree or not? Current square cannot be negative. Negative of -2 ampere will be plus only. So since current square cannot be negative, average of this cannot be zero. Similarly, average power cannot be zero. But you cannot directly write I square R. So for that, I will give you the formula, but later you will understand. Maximum current by √2 square into R. So this is the formula we have to use. Okay, so this you can calculate later. This will be done in next chapter. So next chapter you will understand why this √2 is coming here. Why this √2 is coming here. Next chapter you will understand. I0 value you know, right? Substitute here, divide by √2, multiply by R. Super. 0.018. 0.018. Okay, now as a physics teacher, I am interested in the last part. The last part is asking the super. The last part is asking the source of the power. Where does this power come from? From where this power is coming, they are asking. So as you rotate the coil, current is flowing because of EMF. Because as you rotate the coil, flux will change, EMF will be induced, current will flow, so heat will be produced, so there will be some power, I square R. Question is, from where this power is coming? If you go back and remember this class, where I had two rails, and this bulb was put here, some bulb, and there is magnetic field like this, and there is a rod. When you move the rod with constant velocity, current starts flowing. If you remember, the magnetic force was in what direction? In this direction. So I had to apply some force in this direction. You remember, students? And therefore, I used to spend mechanical power. The person who is pulling this, the person who is moving this rod has to apply force. And that person, since he is applying force against the magnetic force, he has to do work. And that work is what is getting transferred as electrical power. So even in this case, the moment you try to rotate the coil from rest, the moment you try to rotate the coil, flux will change. Once flux will change, EMF will be induced. According to Lenz's law, that EMF will try to oppose the change or it will help the change. The EMF induced, according to Lenz's law, will try to oppose the change or it will try to add. It will oppose the change. And therefore, since your rotation is like this, the induced current will try to create a torque like this. So if you simply apply torque and you leave it, it will slow down. It will slow down and stop. So if you want the coil to rotate with constant angular velocity, you will have to apply a external torque. So the answer is the power comes from the external agency which is rotating the coil against the back EMF, because the back EMF will try to create a torque which will try to oppose the rotation. So if you want to continue the rotation, you will have to apply torque, external torque, and therefore you will have to spend energy, and that energy is actually getting transferred as electrical energy. That's why we create dams where water is rushing, falling down from some height. It has energy, right? So that energy is getting converted. See, this external agency can be anything. It is not always Kamla. In the previous question, it was Kamla, if you remember. Okay, so numericals are over. Let us quickly finish the 3 MCQs, simple ones. Then we'll start next chapter. First question. Entrance corner. Whichever number it is there, you write, ma. 6.2. First question. Already you know this answer. The self-inductance of a solenoid of length L and area of cross-section capital A with fixed number of turns, so capital N is fixed, increases as what will happen in the option they are asking. First you write the formula. Self-inductance of a solenoid, so nicely we have derived 2 times. Mu naught N square A by L. This is kept fixed. So it is very clear that if you want to increase, the self-inductance increases if what will happen? Area increases or length decreases. So which option? Area increases, length should decrease. Which option? B. Option B. Okay, finish it. But remember, in another question, if they say number of turns per unit length, if that is kept constant, answer will change. Already yesterday I have explained. Next question, question number 2. The mutual inductance M12 of coil 1 with respect to coil 2. Now they have not mentioned where are the coils, how the coils are placed, nothing they have given. So let us say I keep one coil like this and another coil like this. Okay. So the mutual inductance between these 2 coils, first option says increases when they are brought nearby. When you bring them nearby, the magnetic flux linkage matlab, once you pass current here, I1, then you have to try to calculate flux in this coil. Therefore, we are interested in magnetic field produced by this current. Correct now? So students, listen carefully. If I move this coil away, the magnetic flux passing through this will decrease or increase. See the lines of magnetic field. If I move this away, the magnetic field lines passing here will decrease or not? or will it increase? What do you think? It will decrease. So we know magnetic flux linked with second coil is mutual inductance times current in the first coil. This is fixed. This is fixed. So if you move this away, this will decrease. So mutual inductance will decrease if you move it away. In the question they told if it is moved towards. So if you bring them closer, then the flux has to increase for same current. So mutual inductance has to increase. Understood or not? So if two coils are near, magnetic flux will be more. Mutual inductance will be more because you will get more flux passing through the second coil due to current in the first coil. So option A is correct. Option B depends on the current passing through the coils. No, it does not depend on the current passing, because if you don't change the distance and if you change the current, if you don't change the distance, only if you change the current, then you know this will change. This is a ratio which is constant of proportionality. So this will remain constant. So without changing the distance, if you simply change current in one coil, flux in the second coil will change proportionally. Proportionally means if this is doubled, this will double. Ratio will not change. So option B is wrong. Option C, this is interesting. Increases when one of them is rotated about its axis. Not an axis, about its axis. It should be its axis. Now, what do you mean by its axis? If this is the circle, no, this is called its axis. This is the axis of the circle. So if this is the axis and you rotate this coil here like this, will the flux linkage change? If you rotate like this, will the nature of the magnetic field lines change? Think, students, once nicely. If you rotate this way, because they've told rotation about its axis. Very good, Hindu. Okay. So if you rotate this way, this magnetic field lines will not change. The overall shape will not change. Of course, if you rotate this way or if you rotate this way, then it may change. But if you rotate about its axis, then the magnetic field lines will not change. Matlab flux linkage will not change. Therefore, mutual inductance will not change. For same current, you will get same magnetic flux. For same current, same magnetic flux by rotating it. So therefore, mutual inductance will not change if you rotate this way. So option C is also wrong. Option D, Sanjay, you should be able to say this, is the same as M21 of coil 2 with respect to coil 1. So this we have already seen. Mutual inductance of coil 1 with respect to coil 2 is same as mutual inductance of coil 2 with respect to coil 1. Meaning M12 is same as M21. Experimental fact, I have tried to show you also while deriving the formula for mutual inductance. So which options are correct overall? How many options are correct here? Which are those options which are correct? A and D. Okay, so both A and D are correct. Now in NEET exam, one of the option they will replace with some other option. That way they can ask. All these questions are selected from NCERT Exemplar. Third question is very, very interesting, very, very important for NEET and JEE. Two concentric circular coils, one of small radius R1 and the other of large radius R2, such that R1 is very, very small compared to R2, are placed coaxially, matlab axis should be same, concentric also, so center also should be same, with centers coinciding. Obtain the mutual inductance of the two coils. So this is interesting. So they have given you one coil like this, One is big coil and one is a small coil. So one is a big circular coil, other one is a small circular coil, not solenoid. Okay, what we did for board syllabus was solenoid. This radius is R1, this radius is R2. We have to find mutual inductance. Correct na? So let us call one of the coil number 1, another one coil number 2. So let us call this coil number 1. Let us call this coil number. Let me call this one. This one. Now listen carefully, students. What I am going to do is they have given R1 is much smaller than R2. Without this condition, it will be impossible to do. Impossible. So now what I'll do is, how do I calculate mutual inductance? The trick is this. Pass current in one of the coil. Then calculate flux linked with the pass current in one of the coil. Then calculate flux linked with the same coil or another coil. Another coil. Very good. Then you find the ratio. Because you know phi2 is MI1. Correct now? So I will pass current here. Whichever way, that is your wish. So you have to first decide, okay, where you will pass. If you pass here, no, very difficult. So pass here. Now, we have to calculate flux through this one, remember. So, flux through coil 2 equals to BA, no number of turns, only one turn is there, no number of turns. So B into A. But this B is due to this current. So B1. And A is the area through which you are calculating the flux. I am calculating the flux through this area. So this is A2. Understood, students, everyone? Now, what should I write for B1? So this B1 is magnetic field here. Let me show it clearly. Suppose this area I show here. Then this B is magnetic field here, here, like this. At every point I have to calculate. However, students, this is very, very small compared to this. So at every point, I can assume the magnetic field will be same as at the center. So at every point of this circle, at every point of that small circle, I can assume the magnetic field is same as at the center. Yes or no? Because of this condition. Yes or no? Yes. Now that is important. Because why it is important? Because we know the formula for magnetic field at the center of a circular coil. Somewhere here we don't know. If this is a circular coil, let me show you here. If this is a circular coil carrying current, then at the center using Biot-Savart's law, we have found magnetic field. It was mu naught I by 2R. R was the radius. But if I ask you here, then it is very complicated. So that is why they told this radius is very, very small, so that at every point of this area, A2, how this is? Oh, this is R2. This is R2. Because I wrote this is coil number 1, no? This is coil number 2. So R2 is very small than R1. Now it is correct. So this magnetic field, I can use this formula. Mu naught I1 by 2R into, what is this area? Pi R2 square. Pi R2 square. Then you can compare this formula with this formula. So phi 2 will be mu naught pi R2 square by 2R into I1. Yes or no, students? So what will be this now? What will be this bracket part? That will be your mutual inductance. Okay, so see which option is it. See which option it is. If you try to do the other way, if you pass current here, option B, if you pass current here and then try to calculate flux here, very, very difficult. So the good news is you can do either way. So always search for the easier way. Okay, so basically the chapter is over. One homework question let me give. This is square here and there's a big square here. This side is L, not L, I not write. This side is A, this side is B. Okay, you have to find mutual inductance of this system. So try this at home and see whether you are able to do or not. Then no problem. Then you make the smaller one R1. Then you change I1, I2. Answer will be same. Prakruti, answer will be same. Just change the names of R1, 1 coil to 2 coil, 2 coil to 1 coil. That's it. But whether you calculate M12 or M21, it is same. Understood, Prakruti? Okay. This one you try. Okay, so we will start the next chapter now. AC, alternating current. So last chapter which I finished today, I have found that when you rotate a coil in a uniform magnetic field, there is a EMF induced in the coil, and the EMF formula looks like this. Okay, students, because of the sine function, it is very clear that your EMF will be alternating EMF. Alternating EMF, like this. Alternating EMF. Okay. This is the peak value. So before I continue the physics part, there are some few mathematics part which you should know. Then the physics part will be very, very easy. So the first thing you should know is average of a function f of t is given by, the symbol I will use is this. So this is the symbol I will use for average in this chapter. Okay, average is given by. Now what is the formula? The formula is, what is the meaning of average? You have to add, for example, if I want to find average marks of physics in our EduShrine, what I should do? Add all the marks of the students. So I should go from one student to another student, then another student. Find the marks, add all the marks, then divide by the number of students. Correct or not? Similarly, this function is also changing with time. So what I should do? I should add the function for some range of time. Just like I should find average for some number of students. I cannot find average for unknown number of students, right? So I have to find average marks of some known number of students. So how to find average? So you have to add. Add means here integrate, because this is a function. You have to add all the values of the function from some 0 time to, let's say, time period. Capital T is time period. Then you divide by the what? Then you divide by the total time. Then you divide by the total time. Why time? Because your function is changing from time to time. Just like marks changes from student to student. Right? So usually we write here number of students if the marks are changing with students. But here the function is changing with time. Similarly, how will you write? Suppose the function is of angle. Suppose the function is of angle. Then what you do? You add the function with respect to that angle from 0 to 2 pi. and you divide by what? 0 to 2 pi, because 2 pi completes the cycle. This is 0, this is pi, this is 2 pi. Divide by what? If I go from 0 to 2 pi, from here to here, if I try to find the average, I should divide by the total angle. Total angle is 2 pi. Okay, students? Fine. Quickly mention it. Topic you can write mathematical tools. Mathematical tools. These tools will really help us to solve the problems easily. So now suppose I say find average of sine function. Sine function. This is symbol for average, okay? Then what I should do? Integrate the sine function with respect to theta from 0 to 2 pi, divide by 2 pi. What will you get? 1 by 2 pi is, this 2 pi is constant. Integration of sine theta is minus cos theta, because differentiation of cos theta is minus sine theta. So integration of sine theta will be minus cos theta. Upper limit 2 pi, lower limit 0. Then this will be 1 by 2 pi, put upper limit, minus cos 2 pi, minus, put lower limit, minus cos 0. What is cos of 360 degree? 2 pi means 360 degree. So what is cos of 360 degree? Back to 0 degree. No, 0 degree, whatever will be the value, same will be the value at 60 degree, 360 degree. So this will be minus 1, minus minus plus, cos 0 is 1. So what is the answer? 0. So we know average of sine function over a period from 0 to 2 pi. So average of sine function from 0 to 2 pi will be what, students? 0. That we have to memorize. We have to remember. We should not derive this. In physics, nobody will ask this. But you have to understand why it is 0. And already we know it should be 0 because sine function looks like this. Correct, na? Between 0 to 2 pi, sine function looks like this. So you can see as much positive value is there, that much negative value is there. So when you add and divide, you will get 0. Understood, students? Okay. So what I want from all of you is not to remember the derivation, but to remember this result. And is there something special about this symbol or what? No, you can write whatever symbol you want. So tomorrow if I write sign of box, it should be 0. Okay, so whatever is here, that has to be angle, right? You can put whatever symbol you want, that doesn't matter. So it has to be 0. So average of sine is 0, remember. Now let us try to do average of sine square theta. Do you think this will be 0? First you try to answer. Do you think this will be 0, average of sine square theta? That will not be 0 because sine square will not have negative values. So it will not be 0. So let us check. So how to write first? Integrate sine square theta from 0 to 2 pi. Then you divide by 2 pi. Now there is no formula for sine square theta. Directly there is no formula. So the whole integration is basically, there is a set of formulas for which we know the integration. In exam, they will give you some other formula. Your job is to convert that formula into the standard formula for which you know the integration. That is everything in it. That is how you have to do. Okay. So what I will do is I will take this 2 pi here. I will divide by 2 and multiply by 2. I will divide by 2 and multiply by 2. What is 2 sine square theta? What is 2 sine square theta? 1 minus cos 2 theta, 1 plus cos 2 theta. Why? You have to tell me. 1 minus cos 2 theta, right? Okay. So this 2 I have taken here. So integral 0 to 2 pi 1 minus cos 2 theta. Now you see 1 by 4 pi. D theta I forgot. You should never forget d theta. Okay. Now, what will be the first integration? Quickly tell me. Integration of 1 d theta. Integration of 1 d theta. Theta. Put upper limit, lower limit. No, put upper limit, lower limit also. No. Right? Step by step, we will do online also. Put upper limit, lower limit. 2 pi you will get. Minus this cos. This cos also, you know, there is nothing special about only sine. Cos of any angle has to be 0 because cos also looks like this. This is the graph of cos. Understood? So cos also has as many positive value, that much negative value. And as much negative value, that much positive value from 0 to 2 pi. So cos also average will be 0. So this no need to do. When you do the integration, you will get 0. Okay, so you can try this as a mathematics exercise. But for physics, better. We don't need. Final answer is what I want. What is the final answer? 2 pi divided by 4 pi is half. So this is one of the most important numerical value that we have to remember. So integral of sine square some angle is half, or cos square. Repeat with cos square. I will not do. You will get half. So if you don't want to spend your time doing this integration, no problem. This you have to remember. Please write down, everyone. Done? This box can be any angle. I don't care. Theta, 2 theta, 3 theta, whatever theta, meta, theta, you write. Okay, so let us start the chapter now. First, we will start with definition. The definition is a current or voltage whose magnitude and direction. For current, it is okay to write direction. For voltage, we should actually write polarity, but it's okay. A current whose magnitude and direction changes periodically with time. Periodically with time is called AC current or AC voltage. Now you may think, what is this, sir? AC current. AC itself means alternating current. I know that. But for voltage, no, we write like this, AC voltage. So when I say AC voltage, it does not mean alternating current voltage. It means alternating voltage. But while writing, we write AC voltage. And this is AC current. Okay. So now quickly tell me, is this alternating current? Is this alternating current? No, so it is not alternating current, not AC. Is this alternating current? Is this AC? No, this is not AC. Such kind of current we call pulsating current, pulsating DC current. So I know the magnitude is changing, 1 ampere, 2 ampere, 2.5, magnitude is changing, but it is never coming in the negative side. It is not, the graph is not coming in the, which quadrant is this? First, second, third, fourth quadrant. So since the graph is not coming in the fourth quadrant, your y coordinate current cannot be negative. So if it is not negative, direction does not change. If direction does not change, it will not satisfy our definition of alternating current. So for alternating current, it is important that not only the magnitude, the direction also changes. Yeah. This is alternating or not alternating, or is it DC? This one is alternating. Okay, so this is AC. Because its magnitude is changing, direction is also changing. However, students, this kind of problems we will be doing only for JEE mains and advanced, not for board syllabus or NEET syllabus. What we are going to do is we are not going to take this kind of function. We are going to take this kind of function. Because this kind of function, we know how it behaves because it is your nothing but sine function. Of course, you can use cos also. You can use cos also, sine or cos, any one you can use. Okay. Now students, one important thing is there, which is adding alternating currents or adding alternating voltages. So suppose I have one alternating current like this. This is one alternating current, okay? And I have another alternating current. And I have another alternating current. Now, if you want to add the instantaneous current, if you want to add, then directly you can see by adding this and this and this, it will become very tricky because there will be too many trigonometric functions to add. Understood or not? So adding this kind of alternating currents becomes very difficult if you follow trigonometric algebra. Whatever in trigonometry you have done, those identities, if you start using and solving, it takes a lot of time. So we have a technique called phasor technique, which I want to tell you now only. What technique? We have a technique called phasor technique. Yes. So before we learn the phasor technique, first let us understand phasor. What is phasor? Before understanding phasor, you have to understand phase. So look here. In first PU, you know that any alternating function can be written, which is harmonic, can be written A sine omega t. Yes or no, students? For example, when we did AC generator, our voltage was alternating. So how the voltage was written? E equal to E naught sine omega t. Yes or no? And from today, in this chapter, we will write for voltage V, we will write. So this is how alternating quantities will be represented. So now if you look carefully, they have two things. Any alternating function will have two things. One is called this value. This is called peak value, which is also called amplitude, which is also called maximum value of this y, whatever this y represents. If this y represents displacement of a pendulum, then this will be what? Maximum displacement. If this y represents voltage, this will be what? Maximum voltage. If this y represents current, this will be what? Maximum current. So this quantity represents the peak value, and this quantity, this angle, it is angle only, no? This quantity we call phase. This quantity we call phase. Okay. Basically, it is angle only, but we write the name phase. So Just like vectors, vectors used to have two things. If you see any vector, it has two things. What are those two things? Any vector used to have two things, magnitude and direction, correct? No, and how we used to represent them in a diagram? We used to represent them by drawing an arrow, by drawing a line with an arrow mark. The length of the arrow line used to give you the magnitude, and the angle, this angle with respect to some reference line, some reference line. Right, students? To measure position, you need origin. To measure position of something, you need origin. Similarly, to measure angle, you need reference line. So this angle used to give you direction in a plane. So if you know this angle, you will know where is the arrow. If the angle is 0, the arrow will be here. If the angle is 90 degree, the arrow will be here. So in first PU, we have represented vectors by this kind of arrows. The length of the arrow gives magnitude, and the angle made by the arrow with some line, reference line, that angle gives you direction. Similarly, we have found that alternating quantities also, like vectors, they also have two things. They also need two things. In order to know this value, you need to know these two things. Amplitude you should know, peak value you should know, and what you should know, phase. So since the algebra is very similar, any alternating quantity, please write down, can be represented as follows. So what we will do, we will represent this alternating quantity by an arrow. The length of the arrow will give you what, students? The peak value, this A. So this will give you the peak value. And the angle this arrow will make with some reference line, that angle will give you what quantity for this alternating quantity? This angle will give you what? Phase, which is omega t. It is angle only, no? This is angle only. This is angle only. Okay. Now look here. If you keep the amplitude constant, usually that cases only we will study where amplitude is constant. Okay. If I keep the amplitude constant, you can see the phase contains omega t. T matlab what? Time. And you all know time always increases. So this angle, which is phase, will keep increasing. Matlab, after some time, this arrow mark will look like this. Agree, students? After some time, this arrow mark will look like this. Agree, students? Why it will look like this? Because this angle will increase. This length will be constant, but angle will increase. After some time, the arrow mark will look like this. So this kind of rotating vector, is what we call phasor. So please remember, phasors are basically rotating vectors. They are very useful, students, very powerful, because when I want to add two alternating quantities, this method will be more easy than using trigonometry algebra, because lot of identities you have to remember, which I'm not very sure whether you will do or not. So we will do as done in NCERT. We will add alternating quantities later using this phasor technique. Please remember that. So let me just quickly revise once. Any alternating quantity will be like this, which is varying harmonically. Harmonically means it can be represented by sine function or cosine function. Then this will be giving you the length of the arrow, and this will be giving you the angle. And how will we represent them? Like this. We'll draw some arrow. This is reference line. This will give you phase. This will give you peak value. So that much, students, with this formula, this diagram you should remember. Done? Done this. Please write this one also so that you will know this is the main part. Other things, whatever I told was explanation. This is the main thing to remember. Done or not? Okay. Now, the next question is, how am I going to measure alternating current? Now, to measure current, what do we use? Ammeters. And those ammeters have we convert galvanometer only into ammeter, na? So galvanometer. So if you remember, there is a coil. When you pass current in a magnetic field, it will experience a torque. The needle will deflect. After some time, equilibrium will reach. Then you can see the current. Problem with alternating current is, if you connect alternating current to a regular galvanometer or ammeter, what will happen? Sometimes current will flow like this. Sometimes current will flow like this. So what will happen? When it is flowing like this, the needle will try to deflect one way. When it is flowing like this, needle will try to deflect this way, because depending on the current, the magnetic moment will change. So the torque also will change. Agree or not? You tell me quickly. So if current flows one way, your needle will deflect this way. If you put current opposite, deflection will be opposite. Understood? No? So this is a big problem to measure alternating current. So one note you write. AC currents cannot be measured by DC ammeters. The ones which we studied was DC ammeters, which the galvanometer converted to ammeter. So this you remember that. That is because the deflection will be this way, that way, this way, that way. So average of this will be 0. So if you connect AC to galvanometer, the needle will stay there only. The needle will not show any deflection. So AC currents cannot be measured by DC ammeters. So what technique we have to use? For that, first we have to understand average value of AC given by this kind of function will be 0. Why it will be 0? Just now we have seen average of this is 0. Average of sine function is 0. I don't care what you write here. Box, circle, theta, meta, cheetah, whatever you write. Average of sine is 0. So average of this current will be 0. So average value of AC will be 0. We know that. Now the problem is, usually when things change, like your marks are changing from test to test, your marks change. So if Pankaj sir wants to know how much consistent you are, then what we usually do, we calculate your average and check whether the average is above the good marks, or the average is below the good marks which is needed to qualify some exam. So usually when things change, we calculate the average to know the effect of the changes. Problem with this kind of current is the average value is how much? Average value of this kind of current is what? 0. Now the problem, if average is 0, Does it mean when current passes through a resistor, when alternating current passes through a resistor, or when alternating current passes through Pankaj sir, does it mean that the effect of the current is also zero? Does it mean that the effect of alternating current is also zero? No. You know that when current passes through my body, whether it is AC or DC, I will feel electrical shock. Similarly, the currents which are flowing in the wires at your house, those are alternating currents. But still I'm using my laptop, your bulb is lighted, your fan is moving. So alternating current average value may be zero, but that does not mean it does not have any effect. So how to find the effect, how to measure the effect of alternating current? Because we know it has effect. We know alternating currents have effect, but we cannot measure the effect by the use of average, because average value is zero. So for that, we have created a new kind of average, and that is called RMS value of current. RMS value of AC current, okay, alternating current. So what this RMS stands for? First, let me mention that it is root mean square. But whenever we talk about this, we will not say all the words. I will just say RMS. Now, look here. What is the meaning of this RMS current? Let us understand quickly. You take this current, instantaneous current, AC current. Don't take average, because average of this will be zero. So don't take average of this. First, what you do, you square it. First, you square it. Then you take average. Now, will it be zero, students? Now it will not be zero. But we are interested in effect of current. Remember, current, not square of current. So what we will do? Square root. So once you take the square root, the units will be back to amperes. Without the square root, it will be ampere square. Nah? With the square root, it will become ampere. So this current is what we call IRMS current. Okay, students. So can I say this is same as this? Can I say these two are same? Yes, sir. Huh? How it is? Yes, sir. Because average of current will be zero. Zero square is zero. Square root of zero will be zero. So this is zero only. But this will not be zero. Once you square, it will be positive. Then you have to take the average value. Then take the square root. So that is the meaning of RMS value of any alternating quantity. Right now we are interested in current and voltage. So I am writing current and voltage. But this definition is true for any alternating quantity. So this is the current which will give you the effect of AC. So please remember, next time, if someone says AC current of 5 amperes is flowing in the circuit, if someone says AC current of 5 ampere is flowing, then this 5 ampere will mean IRMS. So in question paper, when they will say AC current of 20 ampere, AC voltage of 220 volt, AC voltage 220 volt is applied. That 220 volt, when they say AC, is always RMS value. Okay, students, so keep this in mind. Later, I will talk about how AC currents are measured, and the measured values also are designed in such a way, the instruments are designed in such a way that the measured value of the currents shown by AC emitter will be RMS current or RMS voltage, depending on what you are measuring. So this is important to remember. Now, of course, if I say peak value is 5 ampere, peak value, then that is not RMS, that is your I naught. I naught is the maximum value, no? So if somebody says maximum value is 5 ampere, then it is peak value, I naught. But if I don't say anything, if I simply say AC voltage of 220 volt, then that number always means RMS voltage, that you remember. Okay, now the last thing I will tell you, relation between, then we'll stop. Relation between IRMS, which is RMS current, and I naught, which is peak current, peak value. So we will derive one simple formula, very simple derivation, then we'll stop. So look here, how to do it. What is the meaning of IRMS? First, forget IRMS, take current. Now what kind of current you are taking? Alternating, I naught sine omega t. This is what current I should say, instantaneous current. Why? Because it is given in terms of time. So this is your current at time t. Now to find IRMS, what I should do, students? First I should square it. Agree, right? First I should square it. Then I should take average. So left side is same, right side. This is a constant, peak value is constant. So if you take average of constant, what will you get? 555. What is the average of 555? Average of 555 will be 5 only. So average of I naught, which is constant, will be 5 only. I naught only. Okay. So I naught square can be taken outside because it is constant. What will be left? Average of sine square. Oh, this brother I have already seen before. How much it is? Half. I don't care which angle is here, remember. So this is half. In exam also directly you can write half, no problem. So this is your average of square of current. Now what is the meaning of RMS current? Square root of average of square of current. Right, square root of mean matlab average of square of current. So if you take square root of this, what will I get? Square root of this is I naught square by 2. So your IRMS will be what? I naught by root 2. So this is your RMS current. So what is RMS current? Equals to peak current divided by root 2. I told you I will explain how that root 2 comes later. If they ask for voltage, do the same thing. Just write V everywhere. Also, RMS voltage will be VRMS equals to, how will you write, students? Same technique you apply. Peak voltage by root 2. Okay. So be careful. If they give you this, divide by root 2 and find this. Sometimes they will give you this one. RMS they will give, peak value they will ask. Then you have to cross multiply. Don't divide by root 2 everything. Done? Okay. Fine, students, we'll stop for today. No problem. Chalo, take care all of you. Some small thing was there. Tomorrow we will discuss. Thank you. Remember phasor, okay? Phasor.